Alright then, hello guys. So I'm going to be doing another PicoCTF challenge, and the challenge we're going to be doing today is going to be called sql Map1. It says, you've been hired by a shadow groupers of pen testers who love a good puzzle. The system looks ordinary, but the appearance lies. Somewhere inside a sloppy code and legacy hash practicing left a tiny perfect doorway for an attacker. Your mission, should you choose to accept, is to slip through that doorway and act as a legit user and retrieve the secret flag. Additional details will be available after launching your challenge instance. So we're gonna launch our challenge instance, and after that we're gonna get 4 hints. Search box looks interesting. Password should not be stored in MD5 format. Crack Station is a great online tool for cracking hashes, and it says SQL map. Oh, I guess they give us a SQL map command. So I'm assuming we have to use SQL map to, I guess, solve this challenge. We get username and password. So a login. Okay, so I guess a common thing to do is just put random values, but then at the very end with password, what you could do is what most people use is, well, I think we even do it right here, where most people do is they try making SQL queries. In our case, we're going to do a SQL query where, imagine if this was an entire query where it says select all from, and this is like not actual SQL query, but it's just an example where select all where user, I guess select, like this is like not actual SQL query, but imagine something like this going on in the background. Allow when username is equal to, and then after that we have like quotes around it. What we could do is just basically close that quote and do or 1 equals to 1, and after that we comment out the rest of it, where it just runs this truth statement right here and it allows us to log in. So we could just do that. So where it's or 1 is equal to 1, and then we just comment the rest of the code out and then just type anything right here, and that should be, where is that, and but the and feature doesn't get placed because everything else after this is commented out, so it only runs whatever is inside here. So we tried logging in, nothing happened, failed credentials. So let's just do it again. Or maybe it's in the register feature. That too is also a thing to look out for, or maybe it's at the very end. So or or 1 is equal to, or 1 is equal to 1, or 1 is equal to 1, nothing. And then we can just, I guess, inspect and go on the network tab to see what's actually going on. Or 1 is equal to 1, and then or 1 is equal to 1. Is it a search term? Ooh, there's a search feature. Or 1 is equal to 1. SQL query, SQL Lite 3 right here. So there's like some kind of SQL query that's happening right here. Also, let me just do this, or 1 is equal to 1. We found all this malicious, this is not a flag, this is not a flag, this is a secret, this is a secret, this is not a secret, this is not a flag, not found, secret key not found. So this is, I guess, the opening how to do it, but in our case we need to find a way to dump the database, and that's where I guess SQL map comes into play. So where, if you guys aren't familiar what SQL map is, it's basically a tool to automate SQL queries, so you don't have to like mesmerize these SQL queries, and you could just like type it in. But the only issue with that is that if you were to use tools like this in an actual environment, they're pretty loud, and sometimes they could, if you don't know what you're doing, can bring down the entire infrastructure. But in this case, since this is a CTF challenge, we could just like do just funny testing for now. So we could just start typing SQL map, and then we could just put the URL that we are testing so far. So the thing that we are testing right now is basically this right here. We're testing out lonely, and we're testing now when the Q feature is equal a specific value. But in our case, we're gonna put it as a test. So I'm gonna delete all this right here. Q is equal to, and then we can type here test. And now, since we saw that there's cookies values, or there's a cookie value inside here, a PHP session ID, so that means we're inside a current session and it needs to have that. What we could do is basically add a cookie value for it, where you could put where the cookie, because it needs to have some kind of session. Sometimes you don't, but in most cases you do. In this case, we have to, where PHP session ID is gonna equal that value in which we copied. And then I'm not sure if it's session ID or what is it. What do they have? It's ses ID. Control C, and then so you just go back right here, put it right there, and then from right here we could now list, I guess we could try and let it list an automation of tables that we have or that we think it is. So we could do the /p command and the /q command. So -p and -q, and then we could do tables. So let's see what this does. So let's go right here and ask Gemini. Probably even ask ChatGPT to break it down for you guys. So what is this command doing? So basically it runs SQL map on this specific parameter where we're testing our inputs right here in this test, like I mentioned. If we set up a cookie session ID, then it's asking us to test specifically the Q parameter, which we have in place right here, Q. And then from right here, we could list out all the tables in the database, or it tries to list out all the tables in the database. So now we press enter, and it says testing. Do you want to skip the testable further? Yes. Yes, I guess testing. Did my session run out? Yes. LS. So it was unable to connect to the URL. That's weird. HTTP lonely island 6134. .net cookie is equal PHP session ID. PHP sesh ID, and I think we could look it up right here too. We could look at the source cookies. Memory. Oh no. Database. Cookie. Yeah, right here. Yeah, it should be the same. PHP SESSID 5757B, and then it ends with AE8F SQL Map U, which is what we're testing, the URL http lonely island PicoCTF.net vuln question mark P equals test. Let's try this. And then so what if we go right here? Boolean base line. So we honestly could try this right here. Let's try this right here. Huh. So okay. Where does SQL Map store the outcome? I guess that's the following question, because we know that whatever it is stored right here. Is it right there? Oh, it is. Cat target.txt. Cat log cat session. Okay. Session SQLite. There's no dump though. Yeah, there's no dump. I have output. Unable to connect to the target URL. Unable, your SQL map version is out there. Oh, maybe because it's getting stopped by. What if we restart the instance? Restarting. Yeah, what if we just restart it and then we just go back right here and then we just register and then we do A and then register and then A and log in, and then from right here we just do or test, and then from right here we just basically copy the same thing, but the only thing that changes is basically this value right here. Maybe it just got overwhelmed. Ooh, random agent. Maybe that will work. It might be whatever's being hosted on the back end that's causing it to fail. Oh, wait. We also restarted it. So that also means that it's probably a different port too. So 50635. Yeah. 50635. And the HTTP lonely dash island PicoCTF .net 506306. Damn, my eyesight's going bad. 5036. Now we press enter. What if we just do just without tables and just like that? CD let's CD log rm session.sqlite, and then what if we run this again? Yes. No, I guess let's not provide all the tests. Yes. No. Okay, so it took us a while. So you just gotta like modify the request a bit. So now we have use SQLite sequences, and now we have 3 tables basically. So from now, what we could do right here is basically dump the users. So we could do, except of tables, what we could do is basically dump out the since we already know the table, we don't need to, we just send out the users and dump out what's inside the columns. So columns, and now we got name, sequence, and text that belongs to that user column. So from here we could just dump whatever we think is valuable. And the thing why I went on users is because I'm assuming one of the users inside here contains it, and I'm assuming flags is whatever we dumped out right here. So that was my thought process. Next one will just be basically dump out the users, and then we just type the command dump, which is gonna dump out everything from that table. We get users and flags, database current. Yes. No. Okay. We got CTF player, no access, ghost, admin, and A. So let's see right here. So I guess we gotta try out every one of these logins. So let's try admin. Let's see. Let's crack the ones that we could, I guess, use hash crack for. Or is this right here even higher? Crack station. So crack station. I guess so whatever we could crack with crack station, I'm assuming, is our final answer. Yes, crack hash. Disable. So we could just do CTF player, and then let's go with this one. And we found a flag. PicoCTF found secret key for W3. So I guess if we go back again, it's basically I guess the only reason it was failing is because it was sending out too many requests to that specific URL, which was causing it to crash. So that's why it's good understanding to understand your tools. And from here, it was basically just picking the table, and after that, picking the column, and then from there dumping the column information. And from right here, you just go by each one. In our case, the very first one gave us the flag, but it could have been the very last one. So it was just depending. So now we have it. Copy it, send it right here, and then submit it, and we pass this challenge. So yeah, Hope you guys learned something new today. I know I did, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.